Welcome to the very first episode of 4ZZZ Off Air. I'm Grace.
And I'm Claire. You may recognise our voices from such 4ZZZ shows as Girls Can Tell and
The Amplifier.
But right now, we're actually coming to you through the magic of video because we're going to have a new podcast that pretty much tells you everything that you need to know about music and pop culture.
Yeah. So just quit everything else because you're going to hear everything you need to know in the next 10 minutes or so. We're going to start off by talking about some of the releases that are happening this week. Clay, I know you've been reviewing one.
It's a thing that I sometimes do. I've been having a listen to the Anohni record, Hopelessness. That one's out at the end of the week, and you've been listening to, I'm not even going to attempt to pronounce this guy's name. I'm going to hand over to you.
Max Quinn, if you're watching this, can you just figure this out? Your record needs to come with a little, what's that thing where there's the syllables underneath the word?
Phonetic spelling. It's Max Quinn's
Onomatopenis. Anyway, let's talk about the Anohni record because I really like that one as well. I heard the first single, 4 Degrees.
4 Degrees. I think it's actually really going to be interesting to see how this one's received because people who aren't aware, there's a fair bit of background politics happening in this record. Obviously, have your lead singer transition and release totally new music as a, in a way, kind of new person. And I think what I've read so far is a lot of commentary about that side of things and not so much about the actual music, which I feel is a bit of an ongoing theme. As soon as there's something a bit gimmicky about an artist, it's 3/4 of the discussion is about that artist and very little about the music. But when you actually get into the music, I mean, you texted me like, oh my god, I love this record, because her voice is just amazing. And I think that for me, that was my big takeaway from this record. It had nothing to do with any of that background stuff and everything to do with the fact that she's just this insanely good singer.
Oh my god, that voice. And the topics that she talks about on the record, it is climate change, collateral damage in war zones. It's really, really heavy stuff. And the way that she sings, just her message cuts through all of the white noise that kind of surrounds those political topics when they're just being talked about in a really the PR way that they get in a regular news treatment. So yeah, that's a shame that you've read stuff that just kind of focuses on Anohni transitioning, because I've read a lot about just the actual content of the record, and it seems that her family knew way before, so this is more a public transition. But yeah, the Hopelessness, I'm so excited for this full release. I really want to listen to the whole thing.
I feel we need a catchphrase of you should go get this record, but we can't because it's definitely been done on TV.
Yeah. I really need to watch myself because I know I like to rip people off. I have a lot of references in the back of my head that I think are original, and I'm just no, I invented that. The Troy McClure thing, I invented that. Max Quinn's Onomatopenis. The first single came out early this year, I'm pretty sure. But yeah, that one, the songwriting is the real hook. All of his songs are really narrative driven, and the instrumentation just kind of lets it move. There's not much going on there, but
I can't remember which song it's called, but we were listening to it yesterday, and he's just I'm going to order a pizza, and makes a chorus out of it.
Yep.
And you just think this is such a normal thing. It's got that real kind of ochre Australian, almost androgynous sort of weird vibe to it. But yeah, anyone that can make a melody out of ordering a pizza is kind of a winner in my book. So this next segment is what we're calling Spotlight. We're just going to be highlighting something cool that's going down. And for our first show, and given that it's May, and here at 4ZZZ we're going to be focusing on our sub-discount outlets, we figured that would be a good place to start. So we have a few favourites. We love all of our sub-discount outlets here at 4ZZZ, but to get started, we thought we'd just chat about some of the good ones. What's one of your favourites?
Favourite for sure is Soul Breads. They used to have one in Toowong, and there's one in West End that I go to quite frequently. They do delicious coffee and salads, and there's free Wi-Fi, so I quite often just order too much coffee and go on Facebook a lot there.
Well, one of my ultimate favourites would have to be a shop that I don't frequent very often due to the nature of the store, but when I do, it's possibly like the highlight of my, I'm going to say, every 18 months.
What is it?
It's Down Shoes. Anyone that knows me will know that it's kind of my jam. And I go there, every 18 months. And because it's a sub-discount outlet, they always like chuck in a discount or give me free shoe polish, and I get really excited about that kind of stuff.
Docs, yeah.
I also really like Rocking Horse Records, obviously. Even though they've like downsized and it's in this sort of weird den situation if you ever go there now. They have some really great stuff and they always do signings. I tried to go there the other day when Val and Soho were doing a signing, and I asked the kid at the back of the line how long he'd been standing there, and it was like 2 hours, and I decided not to.
Bye.
But the fact that they put on that kind of thing is really cool as well. So you can always get discounts there. And the other one is Reverse Garbage, which we went to together.
Reverse Garbage is just full of everything that I want to get from a bin, but you don't actually have to deal with the shame of going into a bin. It's like someone's done the dumpster diving for you. But
And sorted it.
We picked up a lot of weird stuff for a craft afternoon that we held for Queensland Women's Week. And basically, Reverse Garbage is a gigantic shed in Dutton Park, and it's full of garbage that they've recycled for you to repurpose and use in your life some way. We found some negatives of an ultrasound. So it's truly a terrifying and wonderful place. So last Saturday I went to the Goon Sax closing show of their Up to Anything tour. They'd just been to Melbourne and Sydney, and it was so much fun. I've seen those guys perform a few times, and they're just kind of like, they're 17, 18 and 19, and they're just so endearingly awkward, but in like the most like lovely way. And it's not like the crowd gets a good reaction out of them. No, they get a good reaction out of the crowd. And they played with Blank Realm and Scraps, and it was just like a whole lot of Brisbane lovin'. It was a really, really nice show.
And you're a fan of the new record as well?
Yeah, it's really good. I actually had
prepared earlier.
I had James and Riley come into my show, The Amplifier, on Monday, but Lewis was doing schoolwork because that's how young they are. They're actually still in school, so
Well, my thing is actually weirdly cultured this week. It's going to be a one-off. Not usually. I don't go to Shakespeare's every other weekend.
I don't do Shakespeare often.
The last week I went to Much Ado About Nothing, which opened at QPAC. And for anyone that is the uninitiated, which I'm getting a vibe with you, Grace.
What's a Shakespeare? Seriously, I don't.
It's one of his most famous comedies, sort of billed as like a battle of the sexes. It's very over the top, more sexual innuendo than you probably want to see a bunch of 40-something actors getting into. But it was actually really funny, and the cast were great because it's obviously a small ensemble cast. So you see they all have these really long, complicated monologues. And there was a lot of slapstick humour, but actually I would highly recommend. And if you're under 30 and you want to go to a play in Brisbane, it's only like $33 or something crazy, because they want young people to go to plays. So it's a good thing to like have some experience doing. And it was very good. Obviously I'm not going to sit here and critique Shakespeare. There are probably people with master's degrees that get a bit angry at me, PhDs even. But I
don't know anything about it. I don't want you to critique it. Please don't do that.
But it was a really interesting rendition. They threw in some Beyonce references. They sung Outkast songs. Like, it was a modern retelling of the story.
I could get behind that. But what are you going to this weekend?
This weekend, I'm going to see Babaganouj. They are playing at Black Bear Lodge on the 6th of May. They're a local Brisbane band that we have been giving a lot of love to at Zed over a lot of years. They've just put out an EP. It's called Pillar of Light, and they're going to be touring that. And I'm super excited. What about you?
I think it's first worth mentioning that the song you heard at the top of this video was a Babaganouj track. It's a hit song, which is a real hit. Anyway, you can see a live rendition of that soon, I'm pretty sure. I think I'm going to get along to the Drones on Friday night. They haven't toured in a while, and this new album, Feeling Kind of Free, has really... It's wormed its way into my brain holes, but I've been playing To Think That I Once Loved You a lot on my show, and that's probably one of my favourite tracks to come out this year. But I know there's going to be a lot of die-hard Drones fans that kind of like, they have a fan base that's really similar to one of your favourite bands, The Strokes, I think. They've been around for a really long time, have a lot of albums out, and have accumulated almost generations of fans. So I'm going for the people watching of the generations of fans and to see the Drones perform live, so yeah.
I'm glad we got that Strokes reference out of the way. It's like you can rip me for it for the rest of the shows now, and people will understand the context.
We had to set it up. It's inevitable.
Well, I guess we should say thanks for tuning in to this very first episode of 4ZZZ Off Air. We've been Claire and Grace.
Bye!
And we'll be back next week and every week in the foreseeable future to tell you stuff that you should know about things going on.